The team-ups between Monolith Soft and Nintendo have been legendary. Not only have they resulted in 3 Xenoblade open-world RPGs, but also the world of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Xenoblade Chronicles was a game changer for the company, and it's now getting the red carpet treatment with a full remaster that takes a Wii game from 2010 and makes it look like it was created in 2020. This new release makes for the most accessible way to play the game in North America, and there will be plenty of players who will stand on the shoulders of gods for the first time in the near future. Here are 5 things you need to know. The Xenoblade Chronicles project began with the idea that civilizations of people could live on the bodies of 2 gods. Xenoblade creator and writer Tetsuya Takahashi would find staff members at Monolith and get them to pose in different ways to determine what position would create the best world map. In 2006, they created this real-life model of the 2 gods and started pointing out specific parts of their bodies to determine what sort of area it could be, whether that be Arctic or jungle. The swords would be used as a bridge between the 2 gods. With the project being a collaboration with Nintendo, this style of design was unfamiliar to the Nintendo staff on the team. At Nintendo, they start a project by determining the type of gameplay the players will use. So Monolith creating the world before anything else was somewhat of a culture shock. In the past, Takahashi would try and separate himself from the development team. He'd write the story, develop his ideas, hold meetings, but he found that things worked out better if he spent most of his time in his office. But this wasn't the case for Xenoblade Chronicles, their largest game yet. Takahashi would spend a load of time with developers, and namely, playing the game. It got to the point where he was spending so much time playing that he was actually starting to find bugs that Nintendo's in-house debugging team was missing. When asked by Iwata why he'd gotten so invested in development, he said that for Xenoblade, he was desperate to get this massive game finished. To write the story of Xenoblade Chronicles, Takahashi had a lot on his plate and decided to ask writer Yuichiro Takeda for help. Takeda's experience isn't in games writing, but instead he got to know Takahashi by being the screenwriter for the Xenosaga anime series. It's not totally uncommon for anime writers to work on games and vice versa, but there's a lot of differences between the media. There were some ideas that Takeda had that would be surprising in anime, but with the interactivity involved in a game would make things too shocking. But there were some advantages, especially in terms of efficiency. Because Takeda was so used to writing scripts to fit within a 22-minute time slot, it meant that they could work out exactly how long each cutscene would be just from the script. Tetsuya Takahashi is regarded as an intimidating guy who doesn't mince words. If something sucks, he'll let you know, and few knew this better than the music team for Xenoblade Chronicles. The team was built from 6 different musicians, including Chrono Trigger composer Yasunori Mitsuda, Kingdom Hearts composer Yoko Shimomura, composer/vocalist Manami Kiyota, and the team at Ace Plus. While Shimomura and Mitsuda were Square Enix veterans who were asked to bookend the game with an opening and ending song respectively, the rest of the team were tasked with creating an original soundtrack with 90 tracks. Takahashi wanted to create something atypical of a JRPG soundtrack and had a very specific vision in mind, which meant that most of the time, when the music team sent him a track, he'd reject it. In fact, Takahashi had to get someone else to write the email responses because if he'd used his own words, it would have come across as devastatingly harsh. Eventually, they did manage to assemble this legendary soundtrack though, and the team was happy to return for the sequel. Despite the critical acclaim of this title, it actually took some pressure on Nintendo of America to release it in the States. Eventually it did make it over, but the game's first release in an English-speaking territory was the UK, and therefore the game was dubbed with English voice actors, something very rare for games and anime. The dub was produced at Side UK, who also works on the dubs for Ni no Kuni, Final Fantasy XIV, and The Witcher 3. While the dub for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was produced at a different company, they still intentionally approached a UK company to achieve a dub filled with regional British accents. Thanks for watching OTAQUEST in Japan, and feel free to subscribe to find out more about Japanese anime, games, fashion, music, and more.